Hey everybody, what's up? It's your boy MJ and welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience Before the Pour, aka 20 Questions with MJ. My guest today is writer, research journalist, and the first black full-time editor in Wine Enthusiast magazine history, J'nai Gaither. J'nai is incredibly passionate about all things wine. She has worked vintages as a cellar hand at Ferrari-Carano and in Indevin?
Indevin. Yeah.
That's in New Zealand in a place called Gisborne. Gisborne. See, she is a researcher. So you guys know I'm a shit talker. She's a researcher, so I expect to be corrected. And thank you very much. She has done her WSET Level 3 and is currently studying for her Master of Champagne through the Wine Scholar Guild. Additionally, J'nai was named one of 4 research journalists working on Karen MacNeil's upcoming 3rd edition of the Wine Bible. Okay, so to warm us up a bit, I'm going to start by asking you some personal questions. They're not too personal.
Okay.
Followed by James Lipton's famous 10 questions from inside the actor's studio.
Okay.
Are you ready, J'nai?
I am ready. Let's do it.
What is your favorite book?
Favorite book would have to be, it's kind of nerdy, but James Joyce's Ulysses.
Oh, okay. No, I mean,
yeah.
Why is that nerdy?
I'm not just saying that to sound cool. It was actually life-changing for me when I read it. It took me 3 times to read it. I tried to read it once on a 12-hour car ride, once on a 14-hour flight, and then one other time I'd have no idea what I was doing. But I think 4th time was a charm. I took a class, and it was eye-opening, mind-blowing, just incredibly enigmatic, and it literally changed my life. Like, I can't read it like a 2nd and 3rd and 4th time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What is your favorite movie?
The Wizard of Oz.
Such a good one.
It's a good one.
Who's your favorite musical artist?
I don't know. Many. The Beatles.
So good.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. I mean,
they're amazing.
We could digress, but we got other stuff to do. I go on a Beatles thing with you.
Absolutely.
So I will, because we use these. So I love the movie Boyhood by Richard Linklater. And there's a scene in there where Ethan Hawke, he did his, like the Beatles Black Album. But it's basically all the solo artists. So he took all their solo albums and put them back together. He's like, when you put them all back together, it's the Beatles. Like, there's no best Beatle. But if you got Richard, you got everybody's solo project, and he stacked them. And Google it. It's a pretty cool playlist he put together.
I will Google that.
Yeah, it's very fun.
That's awesome.
And you just see, like, damn, all those songs, John, Paul, Ringo, and George. I mean. And
there is a best Beatle, and it's John. You know why? Because he had glasses. Boom.
I wear glasses. I'm just not admitting that I need whatever someone my age normally needs, so that's why they're off right now.
That's awesome.
Okay, what is your favorite food? Last meal, what are you having?
Last meal. Anything duck. Duck 18 ways. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
I will have duck in a house. I will have duck with a mouse. I will have duck here and there. I will have duck everywhere.
That's perfect. I'm going to ask you another question. Who's your favorite athlete?
Athlete? Oh, Lord. I don't pay attention to sports.
Okay.
Any golfer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Any golfer.
Yeah, any golfer.
Number 238 on the PGA Tour. You have a fan.
Exactly. I love you, whoever you are.
All right. What was your favorite cartoon as a child?
Oh, my God. Favorite cartoon? Jim Truly Outrageous and She-Ra.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we haven't released any video, but you guys, she's rocking it out. We might have to, this might be the first Before the Pour. We have to do a Before the Pour video clips because she was rocking it out.
Okay. Dancing.
What was your favorite cereal?
Cereal?
Yeah, you watch cartoons, you gotta have cereal.
I guess Fruity Pebbles, Fruit Loops, Trix, anything that had multicolored balls that were artificially flavored.
There you go. That sounds about right. All right. So, what's your current exercise routine?
Eating and drinking. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I love it. All right.
Lifting a glass is how I get my biceps.
There you go. Someone else said that. Who's your favorite comedian?
Dave Chappelle.
He's good.
He's fun.
Dave's
He's funny.
good.
Yeah.
He's very funny.
Yeah.
Who would you most like to have a bottle of wine with?
Oh, such a good question. I don't fucking know. Sorry, can I swear on this?
Hell, fuck yeah. I'm from Jersey.
I'm so sorry.
No. Go for it. Encouraged.
Encouraged, right? Let's see. A bottle of wine with. Probably it would be one of a few people. Mm-hmm. John Lennon, Martin Luther King, Oprah. And
I said a bottle of wine, not have a basketball team.
I want to have a bottle of wine with all three of them.
Okay, fair enough. Good answer. All right. So now, J'nai, we're going to move into these questions. It's actually from the Proust questionnaire that James Lipton made famous on Inside the Actors Studio.
Got it.
What is your favorite word?
My favorite word, anathema.
Ooh.
Boom. Wordsmithing right there.
Right there. Showing off those journalistic chops. What is your least favorite word?
Oh, sorry. My favorite word actually probably is fuck, but so I'll go back. But my least favorite word, I don't know. Probably
Okay. All right. What turns you on?
In general or in a person?
Yeah, in general.
In general, intelligence. Crazy honesty. Sincerity. Using my least favorite word all the time here. Sorry, guys. And really hot looks, of course.
Okay. All right.
Somebody who knows how to eat and drink well.
Well, then what turns you off?
Someone disingenuous, people who are dishonest, people that don't know anything about eating and drinking. Literally the opposite of what I just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something real quick.
Thank you.
All right. What sound or noise do you love?
Look. I mean,
yeah, that's
did you
the
really
sound
need to
of
ask
wine
me that question?
emptying, leaving a bottle. Okay, what sound or noise do you hate?
So sorry. Lord
all right,
have mercy.
so I like you, so I'm gonna hook you up.
Okay.
What's your favorite curse word?
Fuck. Fuck yeah.
You know, I was like, she's been reading my notes. Or has never seen Inside the Actors Studio. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I don't even know if I can answer that honestly, because I have my dream job and I've been doing it for a long time, even before I was with Wine Enthusiast. So I'll answer that by saying that as a kid, I always wanted to be a paleontologist. My mother and I used to put together like those wooden dinosaur puzzles, 3D puzzles, and I had a lot of books about dinosaurs and things like that. And so trips to the Field Museum in Chicago and things like that. So I was
Wore out your Jurassic Park videotape, VHS tape. Yeah.
Yeah. That would have probably been my other career.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's some other shit for sure. What profession would you not like to do?
Anything finance. Anything having to do with numbers. I actually have a math learning disability. So if you want your company down the tubes, hire me.
Okay. And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Damn, girl, you fine.
Well, listen, that was a lot of fun. If you guys want more of J'nai, and I know you do, make sure you tune into our episode of the Black Wine Guy Experience. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, come on, I'm a professional or something. Like I always tell you. There we go. You never aim at a person.
Oh! Whoa!
Dang!
No, that just went. I didn't even turn it. It just went.
That is crazy. Sorry.
That's okay. It just went.
Probably because I was like hightailing it.
Yeah. That's funny.
Thank you. So sorry. I swear I didn't shake it.
You jinxed yourself, man. You're like, don't point it at me.
Okay, thank goodness you wore a dark shirt.
I know, right? That just worked out today.
Mm.
Oh. Yeah, I was gonna say, where's your cappy cap?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that color.
Mm-hmm.
Can I take this? Oh no, we gotta keep it chill, right?
Yeah.
Alright.
There's a little bit of
What's in there?
cork.
Ew.
Oh, that's fine. Is it cork? Okay.
What is that? Yeah, let's make sure it's not a worm.
Ew, gross.
I was like, oh.
I hope not.
No.
Yes, please give me more. Thank you.
All right.
Good times. This
Off-
show is popping.
This is off the
Literally.
chain already.
This
It's
show
on,
is
it's on and
literally
popping. All right.
On and poppin'.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your boy MJ and welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience. My guest today is writer, research journalist, and the first black full-time editor in Wine Enthusiast magazine history, J'nai Gaither. J'nai is incredibly passionate about all things wine. She has worked vintages as a cellar hand at Ferrari-Carano Winery in Sonoma and Indevin in New Zealand in, how do you say that?
Gisborne.
Gisborne, New Zealand. She has completed her WSET Level 3 and is currently studying for her Master of Champagne through the Wine Scholar Guild. Additionally, J'nai was one of 4 research journalists named to work on Karen MacNeil's upcoming 3rd edition of the Wine Bible. Welcome, J'nai.
Hey.
Tell us what wine we're drinking this evening.
We are drinking Eric Rodez. Eric Rodez's Blanc de Noir, which is 100% Pinot Noir from Champagne, of course. I'm a Champagne hound. And it comes from Ambonay, which is a very prestigious village in the Montagne d'Arons, in the Champagne region.
And isn't your handle's like Champagne and Reservations, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Holler.
Yeah. So, if you've ever listened to the podcast, which you probably haven't because you're so busy, but if you have, I like to start at the beginning. So, you grew up in Chicago, right?
I am.
Tell.
I have.
Born and raised?
Born and raised.
Okay. What part of Chicago?
So I spent my younger years on the west side of Chicago in the North Lawndale area, a.k.a. the Hood is what people call it. I spent upper years in the Lincoln Park area. Went to a fancy private school over there. And then adult years, downtown, South Loop, Ravenswood area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up in the hood in Chicago? Because, my grandparents lived in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Came up in the Great Migration from the South.
Yeah.
And I think, my uncle went to Cooley High, back in the day. And then they sent him back down to Georgia. So I know Chicago is like people on the East Coast, like New York, but like Chicago's pretty gully. Yeah, talk about that. I mean, talk about like they said, just growing up. I mean, what's that? You know, probably not a lot of wines from Ambonay on the west side.
Not at all. To be completely honest, I was kind of like a fish out of water. So we lived on the west side, but that was because my dad owned the house that we lived in. It had been in his family for years. So I think now he's actually been in that house. He's like, I don't know how old he is, 68, 69. He's been in that house for 68 years. And so that is why we lived over there, just because it was a family home.
Which is not common either, like you said. Like
well, I don't know. I think like everybody on our block, those houses are all very old. They're like 1800s graystones, and most of the families who have lived on that block have been there 30 to 50 years. Okay. So we grew up with all those people.
Gotcha.
But my parents always wanted us to know that just because you live on the west side of Chicago doesn't mean that you are of the west side of Chicago. And so even though we slept there and my school was like, my grammar school was half a block away, you know, we spent weekends at the museum and at the opera and, you know, at Neiman Marcus. Like, I had a Neiman Marcus credit card when I was in high school. Like, you know, so they wanted us to know that, you know, this is not everything. There is a world outside of these streets. And I think a lot of the people that I grew up around did not have that same kind of guidance. And so they did think that the streets were the end-all, be-all.
Gotcha. In our research, it shows that you just mentioned Neiman Marcus and that you did enjoy going to fancy restaurants with your mom when you were younger.
Yes, I did.
So talk about that.
Yeah, that was.
We'll have a sip first.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, one of the things that my mother also used to do with us, she'd save up money, and probably like once a month we'd go out to a fancy restaurant and we dress up, and that's kind of where I fell in love with fine dining and like being catered to and fancifully plated food because it was just very artful, and that's kind of how I think where my love of food and gastronomy and everything that entails comes from. It comes from that. And she was also a very, very big cook, and we had a lot of family gatherings, especially for Christmas. So food was always very much at the center of the table. Yeah, in our home. Wine was not, but food was.
Yeah, it's gonna be either an easy show or a hard show. Cause I was gonna ask
Sorry, I keep skipping ahead.
I know. I was like, she's like, I've done my research. And I know what you're going to ask next.
I apologize. I didn't do shit. I was just hoofing it on the subway trying to get here.
Well, I'm so glad you made it, for real.
Me too.
Yeah, so we don't have to ask, was wine a part of that? So when did wine kind of come into the... Actually, let me back up.
Yeah.
So you grow up, your mom is exposing you to things because exposure is so important for all children.
It is.
It's so important, I think, you know. Where did you go to university, college? Where'd you spend those years of your life?
Every school under the sun.
Okay.
Literally every school under the sun. Carleton College in Minnesota. Fancy liberal arts college.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I used to work with colleges. It's the only reason why I wouldn't know what it is.
Yeah. The Claremont Colleges in Southern California.
Yep.
And University of Pennsylvania. So, like I said, every school under the sun.
So, did you finish your undergrad at Carleton, or did you transfer to Claremont?
No.
Okay, so
yeah, I actually got kicked out of Carleton after 2 years. It was great. Actually, it wasn't. Carleton was like my dream school.
Okay.
Like I worked so hard to get there. It was my first choice school, and I worked my tail off to get in, and I was an absolutely amazing candidate, which is why I got in.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got there and I was like, woo, freedom, dudes. And I was like, and I don't remember writing a paper. And so like, I got my little ass kicked out after 2 years. I can look back on it now because it was like over 20 years ago. But it took me about 18 years to get over it.
All right, so then you go to the Claremont.
So I had like hiatus, time off,
Okay.
and then
What'd you do then? Like, because
lived in
back
China.
then, I was saying there was no gap year. It wasn't a thing, but
right.
So you went to China. What was that like?
I lived in China.
What made you choose China?
So when I was at Carleton, the language that I chose as a freshman was Chinese, and the way I choose to do things is because, like, when people go that way, I go this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when people zig, I just say, fuck you, I'm zagging. And so, because I hate to be like everybody else. I hate that. So I chose Chinese because I knew everybody else was going to choose, like, French, Spanish, or German. Yeah. And I loved it so much, but I failed miserably. And so when I got kicked out of school, I still wanted kind of like an academic experience because I was just like in denial. I'm like, J'nai can't get kicked out of school. She's like an excellent student. She's amazing. She doesn't get kicked out of school. What the hell is this? And so I'm like, I still have to do something fabulous. So I said, you know what? I'm just decided on a Wednesday that I would go to China, bought a ticket on Thursday, found a homestay program and enrolled at school on Friday, and then like flew out on Saturday. And I stayed in Beijing for like 4 months. And
it's like a Craig David song. I bought a ticket on Wednesday,
yeah.
on Thursday, and on Friday I was in China.
That's so true. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, so that's
amazing.
Kind of what I did, and it was wonderful. It was immersive, and I found out that I learned best through immersion.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 hours a day of language, going home to a family that spoke little English. And like within a month and a half, it was miraculous. Actually, I could actually listen to the news and like read parts of the newspaper. It was truly miraculous. And I gained over the years after that like a near native level of fluency. Don't ask me to speak shit now. I can speak a few things, but like when you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was that like from a gastronomic experience to be like really enjoying the cuisine of China, not what we have here?
I was just about to say that. So Beijing fare is nothing like what you go and get at your local Chinese shop on the corner. Like, it's like, I don't know what the hell people are thinking when they have like Chinese food here. I'm like, what the hell is this? But maybe it's like not Beijing fare. Maybe it's something that you get down in Hong Kong. I don't really know, but it is not Beijing food. Beijing food was just like, it was literally like a thrill and for the senses. It was just walking down the street, you can smell like grease. And that might sound gross, but it smells so good.
No. If you like fried food.
Yes, it smells so good. Oh my God, the thick grease just permeating, like coming through your pores. And you were like, oh, give me more. It was awesome. And so there was that, and there was like the smell of like vegetables cooking at the same time. Vegetables in that same thick, pour spewing out grease, right? And so it was just amazing. Like I was always like, what are we eating in the States when this food is just so incredible? So it was wonderful and lovely. Yeah.
All right. So then you have your immersive experience in China, and you come back, and then...
and I went to Taiwan.
Oh, you went to Taiwan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You do the same thing.
And oh, this is so awesome. This and Taiwanese food, like, shit, I'm sure there's got to be a restaurant out in Queens somewhere that does Taiwanese food. But
probably.
Like, but most people, myself, have probably never had Taiwanese food, and being the stupid American, we think, oh, it's just like Chinese food, and it's not, right?
Well, there's some variations, right?
Okay.
But I actually am not a huge fan of Taiwanese food.
Okay. Was there a focus there? Like, there not enough grease in the air?
It's a great question, and one that I don't know if I can answer properly because we are talking about now, like, 18 years ago. And I also didn't enjoy my time in Taiwan, so I kind of like tried to forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And was Taiwan your last stop before coming home, being abroad?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So
I think so. Yeah. It was my last stop.
Okay. And then while you were there, were you looking? Did you know you were going to go to Claremont, or just came back? Okay.
No, I didn't. But I wanted another, because I am J'nai, and so I wanted another, fulfilling academic experience, one that was worthy of who I am without sounding completely pompous and asshole-like. I'm sorry, guys, but...
no, I mean, not unfortunately, but there's so many intelligent people in wine. I don't think you sound like, pompous.
Yeah. But for me, it was like so much of my existence and experience was always predicated on like how I was doing academically and professionally, and so much of my being is tied up in that. So when I talk about like I went to all these great schools, it's because that was like I felt that I was only deserving of that, even though I got kicked out of my dream school. I felt that I was only deserving of these excellent experiences. So I'm not trying to sound pompous, but this is just a part of my story. So Claremont, I had to go back to Claremont because I was like, you know what? I am going to go to an all-women's college because maybe I won't get kicked out because I'll have no distractions. And so that is what I did. I went to Scripps College, and I did great. There are no dudes. I mean, there were dudes at, Pomona and, Claremont McKenna and Pitzer, and, you can, walk to... It's kind of like one big campus. It's 5 colleges, but it's literally, one big campus. So, I slept at Scripps, but, 99% of my courses were at Pomona. And it was great because I was, older, and I was, 24 at the time, and older, and had gained more perspective, and, it was just better. I did great. But I hated that fucking place. So after a year and a half, I was like, deuces, and I was gone. So I also have ADHD, you guys. You're learning a lot of real personal things about me right now.
So when you said bye-bye, where did you break out to?
I had a very long hiatus.
Okay.
Years long. Yeah.
And then eventually you found yourself to the home of the Philly cheesesteak, or?
No, that was very recently, actually.
Oh, okay.
Really recently.
Okay.
But with wine, after...
Yeah, when did wine come in the picture here?
So wine first came into the picture at Carleton.
Okay.
We'll say 2004. So I was 21 years old in 2004. I was home from college. I hadn't gotten kicked out yet. Yes, I had gotten kicked out. Yes, because I was at Carleton from 01 to 03. So I was done with Carleton, and I was home with one of my friends from Carleton. And on one of his breaks, went to his house for dinner. Parents brought out some wine. It was a Joseph Drouin Pinot, a Burgundy. And I just remember, what is this? Just drink it, just try it. And I drank it, and I was just like, and I was like, and I was like, I was like, whoa, what is this? And I started actually oh my God, it's so elegant, and it's so soft, and and I started describing it in ways, personifying it, and I was confused because I didn't know shit about wine, but I started describing it like, somebody who would know something about wine. I was confused as to why I was describing it this way. And thank you.
Thank you.
And so that kind of sent me down a rabbit hole to learn more, and that is what I did.
So that's 2004.
That was 04.
All right. And then you go out to California, and there's a decent amount of wine in California. Were you still kind of exploring wine out in California when you were at?
I was not.
Okay.
Not yet. Not until after I left Scripps and then thought, you know what? I want to learn more about this wine thing. And so I started buying more books, started taking more courses, and started buying more wine and trying to learn about it that way. And then started working at a wine shop. It was called Sam's Wines and Spirits, which is now, it was absorbed by Benny's in Chicago. But it was a big box retailer.
Okay.
And tried to learn about wine there. Was not a great place to work. But, you know, a lot of people don't have great work environments. It's totally fine. And also worked with a company that did wine consultancies. So that they were like a company that employed wine consultants who would go into retailers and talk to the retailers about how to merchandise their wine, to buy, so that, you know, sales would increase, et cetera, et cetera. And I did that for like, I don't know, a year. But those two kind of roles really got me into wine, like really, really into wine. And then a year later, which would have been 2010, is when I said, you know what? I love eating and drinking. I love telling people about my discoveries, and I love telling people about it. So I guess the best forum to do that would be to write about it. And that's how I started writing about food and wine.
Wow. Wow.
Was that coherent? I've had a lot of champagne here, so. I don't know if you guys can see us, but we are so drinking.
Yes, we are drinking on the podcast. So that was she did it again.
I'm sorry.
So, J'nai, when did you decide to combine your love for food and wine and writing? Oh, sorry, you just answered that, 2010.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm just having fun. You're so much fun. This is going to be this is one of those fun episodes.
Oh my God.
So, over this, okay, so 2004 to 2010, you know, we know that you are passionate about champagne and Burgundy, and actually, in the bio it says, and drink copious amounts of both daily.
Yeah. Well, I actually do drink champagne every day, just about every day, usually beginning at 8 a.m. without orange juice. And it's a great palate cleanser. I don't drink coffee. Coffee actually puts me to sleep, so it kind of wakes up my palate and gets me ready for the day. If Wine Enthusiast is listening, I don't know if they knew that about me, but they do now.
So I love it. I love it. So when did this over that time period, because we got lots of stuff to talk about, but like, we know that it was a bottle of Drouhin, it was a bottle of Burgundy, and like you just went into like, you were like, you could wrote for Berghound, you're like, it was elegant and urethra. I mean, you were using all the adjectives.
Yeah.
When did the champagne thing kind of kick in?
I love this question. That was probably in 2009, 2010, and I remember it so vividly. I was at a dinner party. There were 8 of us, 25 bottles of wine. This dinner party was just all wine people. So people who work for distributors, people who work for importers, people who work for retailers. And so obviously you're going to have all these amazing wines. So we had 25 wines for 8 people. And some of us drove after that.
I know, that's why that one always freaks me out. But that's like about 3 bottles a person.
Yeah, it was about 3 bottles a person. And somebody brought Tarlant, Champagne Tarlant, Brut Rosé. And I just remember, like, it was like, it's hard to describe. It was kind of like the heavens opened up and I was getting laid all in one thing. It was amazing. I was like, I couldn't handle it. So, does that need to be edited out? I'm so sorry.
No, that does not. That is. You look at if you look at wine journalism, there is it's sexy. I mean, that's what we say about wine. They're sexy. It's voluptuous. It's got like it's you know, a wine house. It's orgasmic. I mean, these are.
It is, yeah.
Amongst the newer generation of writers, for sure. So no, I love that you're just so vivacious.
Yeah, but that's kind of what it was like. I just remember And most of Tarlant's range is zero dosage. And so the way that zero dosage felt, meaning like no addition of sugar after disgorgement, after disgorgement.
Correct.
So no addition of sugar was added, but it's actually a sensation and a texture that on your mouth when there's zero dosage. It almost feels like it kind of sticky and prickly, but in a way that is not aggressive, more of a massage, and you can also taste the purity of fruit. You can detect this kind of like pure acid that's just like nothing else that you've ever tried. And it was just mind-boggling for me. And so I was just like, what is this? Maybe there's no sugar in this. And I had no idea. I didn't know anything about champagne.
You're like the naturals. Like, maybe there's no sugar in it.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about champagne. But I thought there's probably no sugar in this. Found out later that it was zero dosage, which meant no added sugar. And I was just like, from now on, this is all I'm going to drink. And this wine has changed my life and changed my world. And that wine, that producer, is to this day my absolute favorite champagne producer. And I always tell people that it has the longest finish ever because 10 years hence, I can still taste it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And I got to meet them recently, which is great.
Really? How did that come about?
I'll let you move down with your questions because you'll probably
No, I don't.
it.
It's actually we're working on a new format. I don't usually use questions. It's just like I'm just making sure I unpack everything. But no, I want to hear that. How'd you meet? I mean, how did that happen?
So
we don't often get to meet our idols, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So I was literally just got back into the States 36 hours ago after being in France for 2 weeks. I got here on Tuesday night, sorry. And I was one of 4 recipients of the inaugural Becky Wasserman scholarship.
I know, man. They were like, just send us an email. And I sent them an email, and then I didn't get it. And I was like, damn. And I had Paul on a podcast. I was like, damn, bro, you should have told me. I could have did a whole video for you. I could have did a whole montage. This is perfect. Yeah, so you were over there because you were one of the recipients, and that was put off a year because of COVID.
Absolutely.
And in the interim, the iconic importer Becky Wasserman passed away.
Yes, she did.
And you wrote actually an article about her for the Wine Enthusiast.
Yeah, it was a tribute kind of piece. She just kind of tangentially, back in 2012, I sent Becky an email saying, I am a writer in Chicago. I have wanted to do one of your Bouillon symposia for a couple of years. I would love to do it. However, I don't have the money that it costs to do it because it was very, very expensive. I said, do you ever offer writers discounts to do one of your Bouillon symposia? Within minutes, she got back to me saying, what's your phone number? And I gave it to her. A couple minutes after that, she calls me from France. I actually had a 45-minute long conversation with Becky Wasserman 9 years ago, and it was amazing. And she talked about how she always wants to see people of color instead of the same people on some of her Bouillon symposia, but never gets any. And it's frustrating for her. And, if I can get 8 to 10 people, Black people, people of color, to come on one of these trips, then she would either take care of or discount my fee. And I'm like, hell yeah. And so, Peter Wasserman, her eldest son, hooked me up with somebody else who also wanted to do one of her symposia. And so we, worked on it for a year, and nothing came of it, and that was the end of that. And then fast forward to 2020, I'm scrolling down LinkedIn for like 20 minutes, which is more than I normally am on LinkedIn.
Which is more than anybody's normally on LinkedIn. It's not
However,
the most visually stimulating.
However, LinkedIn
it's a gold mine.
Since 2020, it's amazing because it's like better than Facebook. You like want some popcorn and sit back and just watch the comments. It's amazing. But I was scrolling on LinkedIn, and Peter Wasserman, who had been my connection for the last 9 years, said, "Don't forget to apply to the Becky Wasserman Scholarship" in a post, and it had a link, and I'm like, "Oh my God, did I not hear about this? And like, did I miss it?" And so I clicked on the link. It took me to the Instagram page, Becky Wasserman's Instagram page, and I read it, and I was just like, "Oh my God, my dream is coming true. This can actually happen." And so but the deadline was like 2 months away, so I hadn't missed it at all. It was amazing. But it took me literally 2 months before I actually applied, and I applied on the deadline 2 months later. Spent like 3 or 4 hours on answering the questions and made sure they were like meticulous and everything I wanted to say.
I was like, yeah, likes wine.
Oh my God.
Never been to France. Sounds cool. She's freaking writing like
it took me
all the papers she didn't write in college. She's writing to get this scholarship to Burgundy.
Exactly. And so, yeah, that's what I did, and I applied, and I got it, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And so when the tickets were purchased, I made sure that I built in some time to go to Champagne.
Okay.
And so my first week in France was in Champagne, visiting, again, some of my favorite producers of all time, including like Krug and Charlant, and I, visited. Where else did I go? It was great.
You don't post a lot on social media, but you were posting when you were in Champagne.
Yes, I was. Because I was just like, this is a dream come true. I can't believe it. It was just amazing. I went to Vilmar, another one of my favorite producers, and it was magical. And on the last day, the Comité, the CIVC, so the Champagne Bureau, Champagne Commission, if you will, hooked me up with Charlant. And so I got to hang out with Melanie and Benoit for like 3 hours, and it was amazing. And then I'll see them also on Saturday for La Fête du Champagne here in NYC.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. This is why we have these conversations, because we would not have known about your 45-minute conversation with Becky Wasserman years ago. So what really was the attraction of you mentioned a little bit, but what's the attraction of Burgundy for you?
For me, it was just those sensations and those flavors that I had never experienced before, and I was just intrigued. I'm like, what is this? Why am I describing wine this way? And it was just it was incredible. It was incredible, and so that was the catalyst. And then after learning more about Burgundy, you just get so kind of wrapped up in it. Your head like explodes because there's so much to know. And doing this Becky Wasserman trip, it was intensity on another level. Like master level stuff every single day from 8 a.m. until midnight. And it was unbelievable, but just really, really intense. Like the amount of knowledge that the Burgundians have, the amount of passion. I've never seen anything like it. And so I think it's that passion and that, it's mostly like the passion, obviously, the flavor profiles that really, really draw me to it. With Whiteberg, I love like Chablis. I love searing acidity. I love like violent, disrespectful, aggressive, like knock you on your ass acidity, like torture porn acidity, right? And and with a lot of white Burgundy, I can get that. And that's the only time I like to be disrespected, guys, in my wine. That's it. But should probably make that clear. But yeah, so those are the things that kind of draw me to it. Also that it's like generational. We're talking about Burgundy's so old. Like we're talking about like things that have been around since 900 AD. We're talking about like millennia and then generations. Like Tarlant, for example, they are on the 12th generation, Melanie and Benoit. It's amazing. They've been around since 1687 or something like that. It's just unbelievable just how an agricultural product just kind of like shapes these families and kind of shapes this region to create the most outstanding product and to do it every year meticulously and then to pass that knowledge down to the next generation so that the next generation can have it and the next generation. That's amazing to me with Burgundy and in Champagne.
So what are some of your favorite domains in Burgundy?
Oh, God, I got to go to some of them. Comte Lafon was one of them. Michel Lafarge. Who else do we go to? One of my new favorite domains is Sylvain Pataille. Amazing. He has this stellar rosé called Fleur de Pinot that is just, I've never tasted a rosé like it in my life. It was unreal. Who else do we see? Simone Bies. Joseph Drouin obviously is one of my favorite domains because that's what got me into wine. It's what got me into Burgundy. Le Fleuve is another one of my favorites. So I have a lot.
And like inside of that, I mean, you mentioned the torturous acidity and
torture porn acidity.
Yeah, torture porn acidity.
Yeah.
Like what are some of your favorite villages? Like, are you a Shoshana girl? Are you a Chambon Musigny? Are you a Chambertin?
Good question. I kind of love Chambol. I also love Givry. But after visiting Lamy, I'm kind of like all about Saint-Aubin, you know?
White or red?
He makes amazing whites. Okay. And the whites we had with him were stellar. Yeah. I think those are good. But Chassagn's awesome too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so many people will like, I only drink this, and it's get very narrow-minded even inside of Burgundy. People like, I only drink this, you know, and there's just I don't fuck with Burgundy. I'll drink it, but I don't fuck with it. Like I'm not trying to learn it. It's so much.
It's a lot.
Yeah, you know what I mean. That's what I mean. Like I love Burgundy, but I'm like. Unless somebody wants to give me a trip for 2 weeks and have me immersed in drinking Burgundy from 8 to 12.
I think you should do it with Doc J.
You know.
You and Doc J, that would be fun.
But I love white Burgundy, red Burgundy, but it's a lot. And like, because like it changes like every hectare, right? Like, and people.
It's so split up, yeah.
And families will have like zigzags, like they'll have this part of the vineyard and that part of the vineyard. Talk about, like my producer's like her head's kind of rolling, but yeah, people. We have various levels of people who listen to this podcast. Yeah. And then even a lot of my winemaker friends in California, like if they make their own stuff, they might enjoy Burgundy, but like it's kind of explain this. Like you said, it's so old. And what has happened generationally, like people, I believe, someone dies and they got 3 kids and this kid gets that kid and this block and like, so what's.
There's a lot of like things splitting up. So yes, there are people that have like contiguous parcels, but a lot of it is kind of just split up. So you might have like a contiguous parcel here, but in the middle you have like things that have been chopped up like 3 different times. And a lot of Burgundy is like that, a lot of the villages, and it's kind of like it still hasn't like sunk in. Like I said, I got back. When did I get back?
You said
Tuesday night. So 36 hours ago. Yeah. So trying to have me remember like everything that I learned is just like a
No,
little, and I've been drinking wine,
we're just
so it's
talking.
kind of like insane.
I'm not really trying to school you. We're just talking, girl.
No, but I'm also just like I'm trying to remember. I can't be more specific.
Gotcha.
But you are right that so much of it is kind of like just split up.
Right.
Domaine du Jacques was talking about that as well. We went to visit Domaine du Jacques.
She was going to leave that out. She went to du Jacques.
Oh my God. It was amazing. It was fun. But yeah, it's interesting how it all works out. I would say to the listeners, if you really want to learn more about Burgundy, you're not going to listen to me talk about it. You are going to buy Jasper Morris's Inside Burgundy. You are going to go on the Wine Scholar Guild's site, and you are going to, do their new Master of Burgundy, and learn from the people who know it best. Like, you're going to talk to Alan Meadows. Alan Meadows is amazing. And, we were supposed to meet up, but we never did because he had some appointments he couldn't miss. But yeah, it's a wondrous place. And then, sure, it's mostly Pinot and Chard, but then you have places that are doing, Sauvignon Blanc and Sambre. And then you have...
really? I mean, I know about Aligote, and I know
Domaine
Leroy just did their first Gamay. I knew about that, but some people are making Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, and Sambre. Wow. It's the only place that Sauvignon Blanc is allowed to grow in Burgundy. And Aligote, I found out about something called Aligote Doré, which is something that I had never heard of before, which is like meaning golden aligote. And it is like, in the glass, the color is like this deep, almost glowing yellow. And the grape itself is like super, super yellow. It looks like almost like neon. And that's something I hadn't heard of before. And then there's a lot of like biodynamic farming. So Burgundy's doing some really, really cool stuff. And yes, the region itself is like very old, but these winemakers are really kind of like pushing the boundaries and like pushing things forward and doing some really innovative things, which I think is really admirable and cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, you did tell a lot about Burgundy there.
I mean, I didn't. That was just touching the surface.
No, I know, but I also love. Thank you for giving people the resources, because we'll get those in the show notes for sure. You know? But oh my God, that's so cool. So we're gonna go back to Champagne for a second as you have a sip. You're pursuing your Master of Champagne. What does that entail?
A whole lot of studying. So it's a year-long course. Well, I guess I wouldn't say it's a year-long course. You have a year to take the exam after you sign up.
Okay.
I'll say that. And it's 15 different modules with a bunch of different, quote, experts in Champagne. So I'll say notable people of Champagne whose responsibility and whose focus is Champagne. So like Peter Liam, Charles Curtis, people like that. And they teach you about the villages, about flavor profiles. Like it's like a real deep dive, immersive master level of Champagne. It's a really, really good resource if any of you out there are listening and are pursuing the MW or have just gotten an invitation to start the MW. Taking the Master Champagne class is going to, really be a boon for you when you start talking about sparkling wine and champagne. So it's amazing. And of course they have bottle recommendations so you can enjoy your champagne while you're studying it. Just don't get too drunk because then you won't remember shit. But yeah.
So you also collect champagne? I
do.
How big's your collection right now?
Not very. It's pretty small. Probably about 100 bottles of champagne.
I mean, in terms of even most people don't collect wine in the United States, but damn, 100 bottles. So like, what are some of your favorite bottles?
Oh my God, anything Tarlant.
So Tarlant.
I like things that are interesting too.
Okay.
So Tarlant has one called BAM, which could stand for Benoit and Melanie, the brother and sister duo who run Tarlant, but it is it's Pinot Blanc, it is Arbonne, and it's Petit Melier, which are 3 of the other approved grapes that can grow in Champagne, along with Pinot Gris. Pinot Gris is like the 7th grape that's allowed to be grown in Champagne. So they use, and they call Arbonne, Melier, and Pinot Blanc ancient varieties because they only account for like 0.3% of plantings around the region. So very, very rare. I actually got to taste some Petit Melier and Arbonne grapes, and it was just insane. Like, sure, you know, you can find wine where these grapes are used, but to actually taste the actual grapes themselves was like crazy. And I did that at Tarlant. We went to the vineyard and they cut off some grapes and we got to taste, and it was wonderful. The Petit Melier was just like insanely acidic. Like, and so oftentimes that's why people think that, you know, they fell out of favor. Those grapes fell out of favor because they are too acidic to be used on their own. But there are a lot of producers who are doing single variety Petit Melier, like Duval-Leroy is doing one.
Wow.
And then there are lots of producers that are also using all 7 varieties or 6 of the varieties to make a champagne. So, so yeah, that's pretty cool. So I have a lot of Tarlant. I have J'nai. I have a lot of special club bottles. And there are a lot of producers that do special clubs, usually around 26 to 29. It changes every year. So I bought like some Remy Massin, like 100% Pinot Blanc when I was in Champagne. A special club bottle, which is really cool. What else do I have? I have like some Celos. I have some Salon. I have a lot of people. Yeah.
Very nice.
It's fun.
Very nice.
It's fun.
You know what? We're going to pause on Salon.
Great. More liquor.
And we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back, everybody.
Woo-hoo.
Just a second.
That means I can pour.
Well, clearly we're back.
Sorry.
That's all good. We're back. And so, you know, you actually recently wrote a piece, or I don't know how recent, but on cult wines.
Oh, yes.
And it's actually called Cult Wine, The History of Cult Wines U.S. So, again, I have newbies and I have people who make cult wines who listen to this podcast. But for people who may not know, how did you define a cult wine in your article?
The way most people describe a cult wine, something that is scarce, very tiny allocation, no marketing, very expensive. Pretty much the definition of a cult wine. And yeah, we talk about the origins of the term and, you know, how it's just very polarizing. Some people love it and embrace it, and other people hate it and think that it's too exclusive, even though they make these very exclusive wines. We talk about like how how these cult wines came to be. Like, for example, I think Michael Cruz talked about, like, you know, we only wanted to make enough wine because we only wanted to know if we could sell it.
Right.
And so
I thought that was interesting. I read that.
Yeah.
And for those who know, Michael Cruz makes. I haven't had it. I want to have it. I was hoping you were going to bring that, but this isn't. Just because I've never had it. I've never had this before.
Ultramarine?
Ultra fucking marine.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you should see what you're doing. Like, ultramarine is supposed to be the truth.
It was the truth.
Yeah.
Like, I did a tasting with him, and I had some kind of like unfinished ultramarine, and like, man, I was like, I'll finish it for you. I was like, are you kidding? This is amazing already.
So, yeah, the article's great because it talks about the things you mentioned. You kind of, Napa was the epicenter of that,
Yep.
And I love the part. Talk about Screaming Eagle for people. Because I would just say this. When I got in the wine business in '97, think Screaming Eagle, whatever their first was. I've had Screaming Eagle in my first 5 years in the wine business. I had Screaming Eagle fucking at least a dozen times.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's crazy. And I'll let you talk, but what I really thought was cool was now that was one they didn't set out to be a cult wine, and they price it at $75 a bottle, and people are like, "Are you nuts?"
Yeah.
And then it now fuck Screaming Eagle.
Yeah. I've actually never had Screaming Eagle.
Oh wow.
Yeah. MJ, Mister, I've had it a dozen times.
Sorry. Probably gonna have it next Saturday too.
Oh, I'm gonna have it next Saturday. I feel so bad for you.
Out of a big bottle, I'm sure I have a large format.
Oh, he keeps rubbing it in, you guys. He keeps rubbing it in.
Pretty sure there's gonna be some Screaming Eagle at this party I'm going to next Saturday.
Oh, maybe I should just fly back here and invite myself.
But anyway, I digress.
It's pretty awesome. So Heidi, this kind of put her on the map as well, Heidi Barrett. It was kind of like a directive given her by the owners of Napa Valley. Just go help the Phillips, Jean Phillips, do this wine. And she was like, okay. And it was amazing, and people loved it. And, they priced it really, really low because they didn't expect it to be this kind of big thing. It wasn't even set out to be a cult wine. I just wanted to make a really good wine.
Mm-hmm.
And they priced it at $75, which was kind of unheard of at the time. And this was 1992, 1993. Which I find hilarious because now it's $12.50 a bottle upon release.
Yeah, that's off the mailing list.
Yeah, it's off the mailing list, right?
It's not even secondary market.
That's not even secondary market. So, but the fact that a lot of these cult wines kind of started as not as flukes, but they were just people who wanted to make a really good wine, and then they just got so scarce because there was more demand than there was supply.
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of what happened with, Screaming Eagle as well. People heard about it. They started whispering about it. Parker gave it his Parker score, and that kind of thrust it into the spotlight because Parker obviously has and had much influence. And, that was that.
You also talked about in that article about one of my favorites, also Cinquenan.
Manfred Krenkel, he's a cool dude.
Yes, Manfred and Elaine, very cool
Elaine's
people.
Cool, yeah.
Yes, but same thing. I mean, let's talk about Parkerization of the wine business.
Yeah.
For a second, because you work for a wine magazine, and so now he ended up being a polarizing figure. Ultimately, what do you think? Did he help the industry or hurt the industry? What was kind of your take?
That's a great question. And a question I don't know if I can answer. I think that he definitely has a certain palate, and the fact that a lot of people want to tailor to that palate is not necessarily good for the industry because it makes everything kind of taste the same, and it feels, going back to what I said at the beginning of the hour, it feels a little insincere.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when you love and have passion for something, you should do it because you want to do it in the way that you want to do it, not because you want to cater to someone else so that they can, give you laud or, make you, give you that kind of acclaim. You should do it because you love it, and the acclaim will come organically. So yes, he is polarizing, but he also kind of made wine in a way mainstream because now people are thinking, okay, I know what 99 points means. I know what 88 points means. I know what 100 points mean. This is good. This is why it's expensive, blah, 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 blah. And even though there's a lot of different factors that go into a score or a price, et cetera, he kind of started the conversation with his palate as a critic.
Yeah. And I think in people, in the United States, that's what we do. We keep score.
We keep score. Everything's about numbers with us.
I mean, so I think to your point, I agree. It kind of helped because people had no way, of knowing. And also, what you said, I agree with as well. The thing to understand is, and I tell people to this day, like, critics are like mileposts or guideposts. You have to understand your palate. You have to understand their palate.
Yep.
You have to be able to decipher what a score like. Parker or Jeb Dunnick will give something 97. Wine Spectator will give it 91.
Yep.
And you're like, how the fuck? But that's their palate. So you have to be able to read between that. And then also it is good because, like, when I see, like, you do see some of these new cabs that want to, or these new wines that want to be cult wines. So just out the gate, first vintage, they consult with, like, Philippe Milka or, Michel Rolland, blah, blah, blah. And it's $400 a bottle. And it's just like, it's 91 points. Who the fuck buys a 91 point $400 bottle of wine? There's like 4,000 91 point wines that you get for like $15 or less.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So I think it's knowing how to use them. And it's a tool, right?
It's a guide. And I think that if people see it as a guide and not kind of like the
gospel,
Bible,
yeah, exactly,
then it's more helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But starting out, if you are somebody who doesn't know anything about wine and you want to kind of like, you need some concrete steps instead of like trying to go down this rabbit hole yourself, then yes, you are going to take scores as more of the gospel, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
But then you'll eventually say, okay, these are just a guide, and this is, I have to judge for myself whether I think that it is worth 190 points or $90, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you now live in St. Helena.
I do.
Which is where for people who may not know?
Napa Valley.
But it's like one of these, like, you got Oakville, kind of like go into that a little bit because I don't necessarily really fully understand that. But St. Helena is it's iconic.
Mm-hmm. It's called, it's considered to be the heart of Napa Valley.
Okay.
And I actually think that St. Helena, the town, has more wineries, I think, than any other town in Napa.
Okay.
And Napa is kind of like, if you think of Napa proper, Napa City, which is like 80,000 people, and then Yountville, which is like 4,000. St. Helena is about 6,000, and Calistoga is about 5,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you end up in the heart of the Napa Valley?
I moved my little ass out of Calistoga. I mean, if we just want to be like completely frank.
I asked the question.
You asked the question.
And I gave
you a simple answer.
Asked and answered. So okay, when did you end up in Napa Valley? How'd you end up in Calistoga? Yeah, that's a better question. Let me rephrase, Your Honor.
Of course. So I moved to Napa Valley in 2016 because, I had been writing about food and wine from Chicago for about 6 years at that time. Okay. And I thought, I could actually it makes sense to kind of move to the epicenter of wine in America and be surrounded by all beauty and vineyards, etc. And I think it would be cool to do what I do from there. And so I moved to Napa Valley in 2016. And so that's how that happened. And then the last 3 years I was in Calistoga,
mm-hmm.
and recently moved to St. Helena. I live on 2 vineyards, which is great. One's in the front of me and one's behind me. And it is a definite upgrade from the home that I lived in Calistoga. And
can you say
wonderful.
What vineyards they are?
No, I think they're Gallo owned, both of them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So just prime property, but
yeah, prime property on a really famous street in St. Helena, and it's magical kind of living there, and it's wonderful to be surrounded by beauty and symmetry, also the quiet, but also on the street where, all these amazing wineries are, where, you can just pop in and taste or talk to the winemaker or vineyard manager or, about, what's going on in the vineyard at any time. It's pretty great.
And so you worked in a tasting room for a minute?
Lord have mercy, heaven. I knew you were going to talk about that shit. Sorry, you can edit this out, but...
No, I didn't know I was going to talk about it. It's here, but I didn't know.
Yeah, I figured you were going to talk about it.
So what was that like? Because let's talk about it. Because, like, people are like, how'd you become the black wine guy? I said, because I'd be at a wine tasting, and people would be like, this guy, he's from the East Coast, he has glasses, he's like 5'9", trying to guess my weight, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, just say the black dude, it'll be easier.
The black dude.
The black dude was at the wine tasting, because I was the black, but so, like, what was... And I lived in Santa Barbara, which is close to LA. So,
cool.
I mean, you're up. But that's San Francisco. But, like, what's it like working in a tasting room, Napa Valley? Because, I mean, you had some experiences. I did.
And they were all bad.
Okay. And this is a topic really that has come up, recently in the industry, right? So, and I think, talk about, I think the thing that struck me was, like, they were being the owners of the property were being dismissive of,
so I wrote a piece for VinePair last year, and I talked about one of my experiences at one of the wineries that I worked for, and I was not referencing the owners. I was referencing alluding to the management.
Okay.
And so we'll say that the owners are kind of separate from management because they want to hear all the good things that are happening, and then the people under them are the ones that run everything. So the president, the HR manager, and the director of hospitality, and those three people happen to be like really, really buddy with each other. But the director of hospitality and her minion, who was also one of my managers, they were just awful humans. And being a black person in a tasting room, and the only black person in a tasting room, you were constantly reminded that you are black and that you have zero credibility, that you are not valued, and that you are completely expendable every single day. And the things that I experienced and heard and had to endure every single day, multiple times a day, for a year and a half, just from customers, was enough to last a lifetime. But then also having no support from the management was even worse. And even though I stopped working from that place, I left in 2018, it is still very, I won't say top of mind because it's kind of like, ha 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 ha,
right,
dumbasses.
Right.
I'm gone and you don't have me anymore.
Right.
But it's still very, very much a part of who I am, and it colors my experience as a person of color in the wine industry. Obviously, I've been in the industry for over a decade. And there have been other experiences that have colored my experience, but this one is the most recent one, and it is...
Shh, quiet in the production box.
Sorry. It's the most recent one, and I think that it's the one that hurts the most. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. What was your biggest takeaway from that whole experience?
I don't know if I can. I'm not going to say on air, actually.
Okay.
But nothing that I didn't know already.
Got it.
So the things that I took away were, I am a black person in America. No matter how honest I am always seen as a threat and non-credible. And that because of my melanin, I don't matter in the workplace. So those are the things that I took away. And those are the things that really, really, they're kind of like the driving force. Yeah, they're the driving force. They are, those things are the reasons I do what I do. The reasons why when other people zig, I zag. The reasons why I consider myself a maverick. The reasons why I love to kind of be a role model, and the reasons why I have always enjoyed being the only person of color at a tasting, because I can be the model saying, this is for you too. You know, this is not just some rich white person's thing. This is for you. It's for everybody. It is the most global of industries, right? Vines grow in every place around the world, including Antarctica. They're cultivating vines on Antarctica.
They're
right?
cultivating vines in Bhutan as well.
What?
That's right.
Say what?
That's right.
That's some shit right there.
Somebody doesn't listen to the podcast.
Oh, crap. He got me. He got me with that one. He's like...
I kid. No, I hear you, right? But I think all those experiences shape us,
They do.
as a person and as a people. And like, so let's talk a bit about, you're the first ever Black editor.
Yeah.
At the Wine Enthusiast.
Yeah.
That was probably hard fought.
It was, actually. It was my dream job. I had another dream job. A job at Gallo, actually, that was offered to me. And, I signed the offer letter and all that and had a start date and everything. And then, 3 days after I was supposedly going to start, they revoked my offer and told me, and I couldn't figure out why. And eventually I got in touch with somebody. And it was because I didn't finish one semester of a degree in Chinese language and literature from 15 years ago.
Shut the fuck up.
Nope. And still
that's that old bullshit.
Yes, exactly.
That is that old bullshit.
Exactly.
Wow.
But
the fuck does Chinese history have to do with wine?
It was a writing role too. It was a writing role.
What? I mean.
Yeah.
You're not. Were you writing in Chinese?
I was not. I was writing about wine. Okay. But yes, you were thinking exactly what I'm thinking. But it was a blessing in disguise because I then had the opportunity to apply for another open role with Wine Enthusiast, which was not my second choice because it was either, I do both copywriting and editorial, like journalistic writing. And so the role for Gallo was a copywriting role. And the one I'm doing for Wine Enthusiast, obviously, is an editorial role. So either role was, my dream job, and I'd applied for both. And so I received one, then it was revoked. I applied for another, and I got it. And it was a blessing in disguise that I didn't do the Gallo one because I am over the moon with what I do and the team I work with. I am almost 39 years old, and I've been working since I was 16. And this is the first time, and I just passed, just last week, my 1-year anniversary with Wine Enthusiast. And this is the first time in my life where I've worked for some place that I'm actually proud of, where I am inspired every day by the team I work with. I want to do better. I want to be better. I want to work harder. I want to get up earlier to start work earlier because, I'm just inspired by what we do and the people I'm surrounded by. For the first time ever in my working life. So it was a true blessing in disguise. And when I got the job, an editor emailed me and said, your presence here means so much because, you're the first Black editor and the first person of color in this role. And like, it means so much to me. And I just thought, that's incredible. And, you know, after I got the job, my mom was like so happy because she knows how hard I worked. And my mother, I take care of my mom. And so, you know, when I got this new role, it was almost like, you know, a young child getting her first job, even though, you know, I'm well into adulthood who's had many, many jobs. But she knows how hard I worked over many years to get this role. And so one of the people she called was one of my aunts. And my aunt said, you know, that is so wonderful that she got that job, but it's so sad, too, that she's also the first. But it's so wonderful that she's also the first. And that summed it up perfectly. But now we have 3 Black editors on the team, which is wonderful. And, you know, our voices are heard. And not just heard, but like what we say matters. It's not just dismissed and glossed over. And I think that makes a world of difference for, you know, being in the workplace. You know, when you're not just dismissed, you are included and you are valued.
Supersonic. Why do you think, or what do you think has led to, like, you're the first and now you have a few more? Like, what do you think? What do you think that is?
That's a great question. And I'm hesitant to answer because of how it could be construed.
I get that. Because let me put it, see if I can, because your aunt made a good point, right? Sad that you're first, but then now it seems like things have changed. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to ask that question.
Well, here, I'll help you.
Yeah.
I think for one thing, COVID, as awful as it was, definitely helped, because I would not have gotten my role had COVID not hit, because it was strictly a New York-based role. But I asked the EIC, the editor-in-chief, if she would, you know, consider somebody who lived in Napa Valley, and she said, you know, we're thinking about it. And, you know, because of COVID, and it would be nice.
HEIC, you know where my mind The HEIC. That's a tight one for those who know. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. So funny. But yeah, so she said, yeah, it would be nice to have somebody in wine country. And so go ahead and apply.
That one makes sense to me.
It makes sense. And, you know, it's COVID, so everybody's like, you know, kind of like spread out anyway.
Everybody's like, we're never going to go back to work again. Oh, my God, we're all going to die.
I know, right? So it worked out well. I applied and wished and hoped and prayed that, you know, they might consider somebody who lived in wine country 3,000 miles away, and they did. And it's, you know, it's been pretty seamless on my end. Like, I feel like I see these people every day on Zoom and Slack, and it feels like I am in an office with them, but we're all distributed right now. We're all at our homes.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, I think COVID definitely helped, because without that, I don't know how many people would have applied or would have gotten it. But it's really difficult for people of color in general in the publishing and media industry. I mean,
because it's like these like, okay, I've graduated from law school. Every fucking job I got is because I knew somebody. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for these type of jobs, media and publishing,
yeah,
unless you're going to work at Johnson Publishing, and even then, you got to know the right black folks.
You do.
Right, so
Linda Johnson Rice and Desiree Rogers, right?
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Right. So, you know, like, people don't know things like the SNL staff all comes from fucking Ivy League schools because of the Harvard Lampoon.
Yeah.
You know, so when you see, you know, black writers breaking through, you know, it's because they're really, really, really fucking good.
They're really good. Yeah, sure, absolutely, but also. Media and publishing are notoriously difficult to break into, and it is because the roles are so coveted.
Yep. And
they're so scarce. No one leaves.
Yep.
But the fact that we now have 3 black women it's huge. It's amazing. And I really do think partially it's because COVID definitely helped.
Without a doubt.
But, you know, so I'm as awful as it was, I am so blessed that opportunity came,
I wouldn't have a podcast without COVID.
you wouldn't see people become entrepreneurs.
Yep.
They have
been talking about
ideas.
it for years, and
yeah.
then finally I was like, you know what? There's never time to start it. I mean, literally.
Absolutely.
No, that's really cool, and it is. And the same thing I try to tell people who want to become a master sommelier. If you're a person going like, first of all, not a lot of you're looking at that movie. There's not how many Michelin-starred restaurants are. There's not a lot of restaurants, believe it or not, that actually have sommeliers in them.
Right.
When you look at all the restaurants in the world.
Yeah. Yep.
So you just know it's going to be, and I think you got to grind it out. You got to be willing. You got to be committed, and you got to work. I hate to say it, but you got to work twice as hard.
Twice as hard to be considered even half as good, right? Yeah.
So, but no, that's awesome. Kudos for you, and really looking forward to see what happens there. But I mean, that's not where it stops for you. I mean, like, what's it like? How did you come to be working on Karen MacNeil's The Wine Bible?
Oh, so that came about so there was a job offer that, not a job offer, a role that she was hiring for that I applied for and didn't get. It was between me and someone else. And that was like 2019. And so when I didn't get it, I said, okay, I didn't get it, but I would really like to be involved in the 3rd edition of the Wine Bible in whatever way I can. So if you ever need help, let me know. And she called me and said, hey, we went with somebody else, but we would also love to have you on as one of our research team. And all of us were, according to her, picked because of our palates, but also because we had a background in wine. And so that came to be like late 2019. And I worked on that for about a year. January of 2021, I stopped because I was just too busy. And yeah, it was fun while it lasted, you know. And when that 3rd edition comes out, I'll be one of the first to line up for it because we did a lot of work and we did a lot of really great work on it.
So, run us through a typical day of the first Black editor of the Wine Enthusiast.
Okay, a typical day. No day is really typical, but a day, let's say, I might start out updating the homepage. So I'll add, whatever sponsored ad goes on the homepage so people can see it. Then I will put some of the print publication, because we have the print edition of the Wine Enthusiast magazine that you guys subscribe to. And we have the digital version, winemag.com. So I will put some of the print stories onto the website so that more people will have the chance to read them. I will go over some editing because I might have, let's say, 4 to 6 pieces out to freelance writers. And so they have turned in their final versions to me, and now it's time for me to do my first pass, my editing pass with them. And so I will do that for a couple hours and then send it back to them to get feedback to say, if you have any questions with any of these edits, let me know. After I do that, I might work on some of my own stories, either writing or editing them. And it takes me a really, really long time to write, probably because I have ADHD and I always have all these thoughts in my head. And I also over-report, like I talk to a bazillion people for a piece, but I might actually just be writing a piece of my own, or I will be talking to a source for a story that I'm doing. And I might drink a glass of wine for like 5 minutes, 8 a.m. Right? Some champagne, have some meetings. We always have tons and tons of meetings. So let's say if it's on a Tuesday, we'll have 3 hours of meetings. That's 3 hours out of my day. Mm-hmm. And then the day ends. And then there's a lot of Slack chats. I don't know if you guys out there know Slack, it's like an enterprise.
They advertise on TV. I mean, it's one of those companies that people know because of COVID.
Yeah, it's an enterprise messaging platform. So it's a way to kind of stay in touch with your colleagues, and it's like what was that thing called? Was it called AIM? AOL?
Yeah. AOL Instant Messenger.
Instant Messenger,
Yeah.
yes. So it's kind of like that, but for work, you can either bitch on Slack if you want, or you can talk about like, so the website isn't working, what do we do about it, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's a lot of that going back and forth, a lot of brainstorming for headlines, for tomorrow's story, et cetera, et cetera. So that's pretty much 8 hours of my day.
So, as an editor, do you get like invited to like events around Napa, or like, so you end your day and then like, oh, I'm going to the French Laundry for this? Like,
oh, I get invited to things all the time. It's great. I love it. It's great. But you have to make it very clear that sure, you can invite me to this, but there's should be no expectation of coverage. If the story comes of it, great. If one doesn't, just know that you invited me and my presence was enough for you. Oh my God. Apologies for saying that, but yeah.
No, I kind of get it. No, I definitely get it. I mean, people send me wine. I'm like, you could send me wine.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't mean it's going to get reviewed or posted on my Instagram.
Absolutely.
And I just say that because, I get sent, thank you for all the people who send me wine, but sometimes I get wines that they're not wines I would ever buy, and I taste them, and I'm not going to be inauthentic.
Right, exactly.
So, I can only imagine, and I'm independent media, but like you're an established wine media that people are looking for favors.
People are it's amazing. People come out of the woodwork, and it's not just, and I'm not talking about PR people. We need PR people. PR people are wonderful. They help us, generate story ideas. They familiarize us with different regions. PR people are fantastic. But other people come out of the woodwork, people that you don't even like, all of a sudden want to be your best friend. Like, hey, I have a story idea for you, J'nai. Great to see you. I'm like, girl, 6 years ago, you didn't even answer my email. What are you talking about? Like, we are not friends. So there's a lot of that going on, and I hate how just disingenuous it is. But you always have to be professional and be a consummate professional all the time, and try to balance that, the fact that people are always going to want something from you, with knowing how to put your foot down and say no, or to, embrace them and say, okay, let's work on this together.
Right on.
Yeah. So,
you just came back from Burgundy.
Yeah.
Was that your first trip?
It was. It was out of control. Out of control.
Yeah.
Like out of control.
And then did you go to fly back to like SFO, or did you? Okay, and then you got on a plane. So let's talk about. You mentioned it before, but let's talk about what you're doing in New York besides being on the Black Wine Guy Experience podcast.
So yes, I got in on Tuesday evening to my house, and then I was supposed to fly to New York yesterday at noon, but I was just too tired. So instead, I took a red eye last night.
Okay.
To get in, just to give myself like at least 2 hours at home instead of going home and going right back to the airport. But I flew to New York because I am going to La Fête du Champagne, which is one of Daniel Jonas's 3 big events. The main one being La Palais, the other being La Table, which is his La Palais Rhone version, and then La Fête du Champagne, which is he and Peter Liam and their kind of like La Palais of bubbles. So I came here for that, and I roped in 3 of my Napa pals to come with me, and so we all bought plane tickets. We all bought tickets to La Fête du Champagne, and we are very excited to finally be dressing up again, and because we miss events. We're also crazy COVID people, meaning we don't hang out with a lot of people, always wear masks, et cetera, fully vaccinated, boosters coming up. But at the same time, we are ready to kind of like do events again. So we all flew out here for the grand tasting and some great gastronomic experiences in the 3 days that I'm here in NYC.
Is this your first time to La Fête de Champagne?
It is my first time at La Fête. I've tried to go like every year since its inception, and it just has not happened. But stars aligned this year, and it worked out.
And what about La Poule? Have you ever been to La Poule?
I've never been to La Poule, but that's another thing that I've wanted to go to for years, and hopefully in 22 I will also be able to go.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I hear you. Like I went to New York Champagne Week. Also was this week.
Mm-hmm. It is this week.
And I think it wrapped up yesterday or today. But I don't know. It's just drinking, guys.
Yeah, it's drinking.
But no, I went to the opening event Monday night, and it was so nice.
Yeah.
Like, for me, that's like, this beverage is really great for bringing people together to have conversations, and it was just really nice. But also, I was like, oh shit, there's a lot of people in here.
Yeah, for sure.
But which is something you never thought about in the past.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was so much fun.
It's great, and
so much fun.
You're a little reassured because there's a vaccine mandate. You have to show that you've been vaccinated, and that kind of helps. And I'm all about that. But I also am a person who will get a pour, pull up my mask until I go to the next pour. And so
You're very conscientious. That's really
am.
good.
I am.
I'm like
I'm
like the 1920s. Like Leslie said, once I show my ID, the mask is off.
I'm just a paranoid person.
No,
my mother lives with me. I take care of her, and so
Got it.
I have to be really conscientious and very cognizant of what I do and
totally
how
understand.
I do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want her to get sick. She's 75 and like. She also just had colon cancer surgery, and so like I definitely don't want her to get sick. She's the light of my life and incredible and wonderful, and obviously I want her to be as healthy as possible.
So, when did she move out to California with you?
I moved her out here in 2017, so after I'd been out here a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did she think of the move to California?
My mother is just so agreeable to everything. She's a saint. She's always happy. She's always nice. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't swear. She's just like this like little perfect saintly person. And so like she's like, oh, it's so pretty out here, and oh, I'm just fine, J'nai. It's okay that all my friends are in Chicago. That's what the phone is for.
Well, where's the lie? That is what the phone is for, to talk to people who aren't here with you.
She's excellent. Like, I'm so obsessed with her. So she loves it. She loves it. It's very pretty out here. She likes the fact that it's quiet and peaceful. And she now has her own group of people that she knits with, and they knit for the homeless, and they used to pre-COVID sing for the elderly, and she calls herself elderly. She's 75. I don't think she's elderly, but she sings for people who are older than her at the senior home and with her group of friends, and so she's found a community, which is great. It's really all I wanted because I didn't want her to be too lonely, and she loves it. She loves it. She loves our new place, and she's just happy, like fixing up the new place and knitting and talking to her pals, and that's all I could ask for.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So what's on the horizon for you? What's a book coming? What's your deal?
I am working on a book. I'm working on some other stuff too that I cannot talk about yet. But possibly J'nai and MJ Part 2 in 2022 we can talk about that shit then.
Look at who's
I just
got her
invited
own
myself
PR
back.
pitching the part 2. I see what you did there.
I see what I did there. I invited myself right back here.
Coming back. She's like, this was all right. I will come back to your show. Any trips planned? I mean, you just got back from Burgundy and you're in New York, but like any trips planned for 2022?
Yeah, I'm going to Spain in March and then Greece in June.
Where in Spain? Is it a wine trip or just a...
It's a wine trip.
So
Ribera.
Ribera?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not a fan of Spanish wines? You got a weird look. You're like, Ribera.
Oh, that's so funny. I actually don't drink a lot of Spanish wines, but I had no idea there was a look on my face.
It was a tell. It was totally, don't play poker.
Oh my God, I don't. Like, I cannot pretend. Like, I am like the worst. I cannot pretend about anything. Like, it shows in my face. But I do like Ribera wines, which is perfect because I'm like, wow, I got invited to Ribera and I get to go to, I like Ribera wines. So I'm going to Ribera in March and then a family trip to Greece in June. So a bunch of my family's going. I'm going on a Greek cruise, so that'll be fun.
Very nice. Very nice. And what would you say is the most memorable bottle of wine you've ever had in your life? I know it's a tough one, but
that is very tough.
But you have a very keen mind.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate that. You might be drunk, which is why you're saying
not at all. we split a bottle between 3 people.
The most memorable bottle of wine I've ever had. So memorable, I can't even remember. Like, I don't even know.
So memorable, I can't remember. Nice try, J'nai.
I know, right? I don't know.
Let me back up then. Let me ask you a question. So what was it? Was that bottle of Drouin Burgundy? Was it just a Bourgogne? Do you remember what that bottle was though?
I don't. I just remember it having the red foil.
Yep.
Joseph Drouin, like Maison Joseph Drouin, and I don't remember if it was like, Marcinay or I don't remember what village. I just remember it being like, whoa, what the hell is this? So I was the 2 wines that got me into wine, which were like, that Drouin and then Tarlant, obviously memorable bottles, but I could also say like Tarlant Bam is a memorable bottle because it's just so interesting. And that, like, again, that torture porn acidity was just like, whoa, screaming at me.
You heard it first here. Torture porn.
Not my words, Michael Cruz's words, which I thought was like the perfectly apropos descriptor.
All right, so now I'm going to make up another question because questions are a dime a dozen, particularly when I'm talking. What's your dream bottle? What bottle do you want to have that you haven't had yet?
Ooh. Good question. A Le Pen would be great.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Pomerol, for those who don't know.
Definitely Pomerol. Again, another Pomerol. Petrus. I don't think I've ever had Petrus.
Had it.
Ooh, man. Stop rubbing it in. And you're going to have it at that party, aren't you?
It's going to be at that party.
Ooh. Okay, I guess I got to stay here another week.
There is no doubt.
What is up?
That there will be Petrus at that party.
Damn. Okay. This guy right here. I guess my dream...
I'm not a som. I just drink a lot of really good shit.
I'm not a som. I just drink a lot.
That's exactly where that comes from.
Excellent.
Exactly.
I would love to have Romane Conti, like actual Romane Conti.
Had it.
I've never had Romane Conti. I've had like La Tâche and I've had the Echezeaux and I've had Romane Saint Vivant, but I've never had Richebourg and I've never had Romane Conti. Obviously, I've never had Montrachet. It's super scarce, but if I could have Romane Conti, that would probably be a dream bottle.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Boom.
J'nai is dancing.
Always.
Oh, my God. Do you know Marquita?
Marquita who? All black people don't know each other. Is she black?
She's black,
See?
and she's from Chicago. Whoa. Well, she's from Chicago. And she dances all the time. That's why I thought you two might be homegirls. That's all I'm saying.
No, I don't know a dancing Marquita.
Y'all need. I'm gonna connect you two because y'all need to know each other because you are both from Chicago. So
it's so funny.
Yeah.
Is she into wine?
She's a som.
I don't know a dancing som Marquita.
She's at Tech Som right now, matter of fact.
Oh, cool.
But
Very
go
cool.
back and listen to her episode again. You don't listen to the podcast,
Ooh,
but I love you.
Ooh.
She's definitely coming back because the fact that I can throw barbs at her like that and she just laughs is so much fun. J'nai, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
making
for
this
having
happen. Tell people where they can find you, how they can be a part of your journey.
Oh, thank you guys. You can read my stories at winemag.com and in Wine Enthusiast print publication every now and then. On Instagram, I am Champagne and Reservations. And it's me sitting on a very expensive bed with a really expensive glass of champagne in my hand. So you'll know it's me. And thank you so much for listening and for having me.
Oh my God, this was a ton of fun. Yes, and by the way, this is number 50, y'all. This is the 50th episode of the Black Wine Guy Experience. I'm actually tearing up here. I cannot believe that we have come this far.
Congratulations.
And literally 13 months.
That's amazing.
50 episodes in. So thank you for being a part of this special episode.
Thank you for having me on
such
a special episode.
Until the next time, cheers to the Mavericks. That is her. Philosophers. That is her. Deep thinkers. That is her. And definitely a wine drinker. You guys, it's your boy MJ. Thank you so much. 50 episodes. Can't wait for the next 50. Love you guys. Peace.
Peace. Cheers.